could be costing your executive presence as a leader, even when you don't realize it? I'm going to share with you a topic, a strategy that no one is talking about on YouTube as it relates to your executive presence. And in this video, I'm going to share with you a very important strategy in terms of how you communicate in a written format that can showcase yourself as a leader. If this sounds like something that you are very interested in learning more about, then you will want to watch this video to the very end, because oftentimes leaders, women in leadership, struggle with executive presence. And I can't blame them. A lot of times, especially on the internet, on YouTube, there's a heavy focus on executive presence as it relates to how you are communicating and the visual aspect of it in terms of how people see you, how people perceive you, how you speak to people, and etc. I focus a lot on this topic in my channel specifically because this is my realm of genius. This is my expertise. This is what I do all the time and have built this up. But in my one-on-one executive coaching clients and sessions and group coaching programs, I focus on a lot more details that you will not hear about on YouTube. And I'm going to share one of them with you today as it relates to how you write and how you can start writing like a leader. Now, this is a live video and you are watching this on the replay if you're watching this right now. So oftentimes what happens in lives is there's a point in time where people will start to join. I do want to make sure I say hello to everyone. So just bear with me for just a few moments. I'm saying hello because I appreciate everyone watching the replay and watching the lives as well. I'll greet them and then we'll go right into the topic whenever that time frame comes. But writing is just as important in terms of how you communicate and be able to sound like a leader. So I want to say hello to all of you who have just joined. Welcome, welcome. If you are ready to really go to that next level in your journey as a leader, as a woman in leadership or in the leadership realm, this is the place for you to be today. So make sure you ask me any questions you can. I will show you how to write like a leader today. I'm going to give you a high-level strategy. I'm going to share with you over 20 years of experience that I've had as a C-suite, as a manager and a director and a public speaker that will absolutely help you be able to go to that next level, especially if you're trying to write like a leader. Let me know in the comments below where you all are joining from. This is a fantastic time for you to subscribe to the channel. What are you waiting for? If this topic is important to you, then you definitely want to be here. You definitely want to be a part of our amazing group of leaders and elevate how we communicate as leaders in the world today. So let me go to the chat and say hello. Cody Gang, hello, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here today. Funny Gangsters, hello, welcome, welcome. Tiny P, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Abigail Kelly, hello, welcome, welcome. Large and in Charge, hello, welcome, welcome. You're stuck in Davy Jones's locker? Well, Large and in Charge, you need to get out of Davy Jones's locker. Hey, I'm glad that you're here with us today. So welcome, welcome. Rolando, hello, welcome, welcome. And Cody Gang says hello again. And absolutely. So Large and in Charge says, Yar, does this apply to my pirate captain application? Well, it can apply to your pirate captain application if you write it in just the right way. So let me know where you all are joining from in this beautiful world today. And we're going to go right into how you can start writing like a leader. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that these are skills I'm sharing with you that are more of an advanced level. So this is a higher level. If you want to elevate yourself, then this is really the place where you want to be today. What I share with you now will put you above your peers. So if this is something you're interested in doing, you're interested in being that standout leader that really showcases themselves and everybody wants to aspire to be like, then you'll want to definitely take some notes here also. Okay, so let me look in the chat really quickly. Funny Gangster says, do you teach? Yes, I do. I'm not a teacher by profession, By profession, I am an executive coach, a public speaker, and I am a doctor. So that is my profession, but teaching is what I do to my clients and all of those who have subscribed to my channel. So if you want to learn more, definitely subscribe to the channel. This is a great place for you to learn those very advanced elite communication skills that you will not see on YouTube. I share with you real stories, real strategies, real techniques, things that happen in the real world, not fluff, not theory. Okay, I'm sorry about that. My video went out for just a second. This happens on lives for sometimes, but let me see. I have Shishiro Naji. Yes, I can give you a shout out. Hello, welcome. Glad you're here today. All right, so appreciate you all being present today. Sorry that my video went out. It does that sometimes from time to time, but hopefully that'll be resolved. So what can you do to start writing like a leader? Well, the first thing I want you to understand is how important writing is. A lot of times when we talk about executive presence, leadership, advancing yourself as a leader, we focus on the audio, how you speak as a leader, and the visual, how you appear as a leader. Well, I'm going to talk about how you write as a leader because this is just as important as the other two. How you're communicating to your peers, how you are submitting yourself on applications, as it was mentioned earlier from Large and in Charge, and then also how you are communicating via text, how you are communicating via email, and how you are communicating also via social media. So all of these things are very, very important in terms of how you write to write like a leader. So one of the things that happens oftentimes that I've actually seen occur is that people worry about how they ramble and how they talk. And oftentimes they feel like they're talking too much. And so that feeling like they're talking too much actually goes into how they write too. So they'll end up writing a lot more information than they really need to. And I want to give you a scenario of what you can do to help limit yourself in terms of how you're writing. Before I do that, I want to say hello to Nora. Hello, Nora. Welcome, welcome. Tell me what part of the world you're joining from today, and feel free to ask me any questions as it relates to how you can write like a leader. Now, what happens a lot of times is that people will write too much. They'll write too much when they are sending a text message or when they're communicating via email. Sometimes maybe on a social media post, they write too much and they just write too much. And so what you want to do is focus on the most important thing you specifically need to write about. You don't necessarily need to write an entire long paragraph to explain yourself. A lot of times leaders really struggle with the rambling and the over-explaining because they feel like they have to over-explain. But what I want to challenge you all to do is when you write out something, and if you happen to be in that category where you write a little too much or you ramble, you feel like you ramble too much when you're speaking and when you're writing, then reach out to me for an executive strategy session. We'll have a conversation. We'll come up with a plan to help you not to feel like you're writing way too much. So this is something that I want you all to work on. But when you type your paragraph, whether it's a text, whether it's an email, whether it's a post, I want you to take just a few moments to look at it. And I want you to look at it and say, what is the most important aspect, topic, thing that you want people to get out of what you are saying? Majority of the time, you don't need to write a lot. You may need to write a couple of sentences or less than that. So this is a strategy I want you all to use as it relates to writing. When you write something, don't just automatically just click send and just let it go. I encourage you just to take a moment to read over it. Now, if you want to get that very advanced level executive communication type of written format, this is something I talk about in The Real Executive Woman, my transformative leadership experience to help you elevate yourself as a leader and how you communicate and lead your teams. But take some time and actually read what you have to send at least 2 or 3 times. This is something personally that I have done over the years as a director and as a C-suite to make sure that 1, grammatically everything is the way that it needs to be and there's no mistakes. 2, that it flows very well. And 3, that I am saying what I need to say in a concise way. Now you may be thinking to yourself, 3 times, you read something 3 times. I actually do read it 3 times, depending on what's going on. If it's something that is a very formal communication, let's say if I'm in a work setting or I'm working with a business associate or colleagues or etc., I will read it at least 3 times, the best that I can. If it's a text message, I try to read it at least twice. If you have an iPhone, I'm not sure about Android. I'm an iPhone, Apple individual here. I'm iOS. You can actually edit your text messages if you sent it early. So keep in mind, you want to make sure that one, when you are writing something, you're being very concise, you're not rambling, and you are reviewing it for grammar to make sure everything appears correct. Oftentimes, when I work with some of my clients in a one-on-one setting that are women in leadership, they will send me writing samples. So they'll send me documents they're sending or messages that they're sending. And one of the things I notice is that they don't take the time to check their grammar. And when you're in those workplace settings and you're trying to develop your executive presence, you're trying to showcase yourself as a leader, you're trying to be promoted in your role or gain more visibility, if you are not writing correctly, then it does take away from your executive presence. It truly does. It impacts your executive presence. Your executive presence will go down because the person reading it is saying, oh, this person cannot even write things properly. I'm going to give you an example. So I had a colleague, a person that I was working with many years ago. And this person was in a leadership role, not in a senior leadership role, but they were in a leadership role. And they would constantly try to advance themselves as a leader and take on bigger projects. But they were able to communicate very well. But when they wrote, it did not come across as well. There was an email that this person sent, and I was included in on the email. And I want to share this with you because this is the reason why how you write is very important if you're trying to enhance yourself as a leader and if you're trying to develop your executive presence. This person said, I am definitely looking forward to the meeting. Now, you may say, definitely, what does that have to do with writing in an email? That sounds pretty standard. Well, let me explain something to you, my leaders. Definitely was not spelled definitely. It was spelled as defiantly. And this person put it as definitely. Now, you may be thinking, wow, are you serious? I'm serious. I'm so serious. This actually really did happen. And I saw it. And I told the person, I said, okay, if you write in a way that is not correct, grammatically correct in either your language, I speak English here and some Spanish, but that's just for me personally. But if you write in a way that does not show that you know how to speak your language, whatever it is, because I realize I have people that are subscribed to my channel across the country, across the world, it will come across as if you don't know what you're talking about. And people will not want to trust you doing those big projects. When you are trying to establish yourself as a leader or continue your leadership journey, people want to trust people that they can trust to write something correctly, that they can trust to say something correctly, and they can trust to present accurate information. If you're missing one of those, especially as it relates to writing, it will automatically make people not want to trust you. They will not want to trust you with those big projects because they feel like this person cannot write that well, or they don't understand how to write words properly or spell check it or anything like that. So writing is extremely, extremely important as it relates to being a leader and developing your executive presence. I want to know from you, have you ever experienced any challenges like this? Have you ever felt like you had so much you needed to say, but you were not able to condense it in a way to where it made sense, it flowed very easily? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to help you. If you write something out, I'll give you some insight in terms of how you might want to restructure it or make it more condensed, or at least give you a very good strategy so that you know how to do this. So I want to give you another strategy also as it relates to writing. Now, we've talked about a few so far. We've talked about one, making sure that you are being concise in how you write. Your conciseness in how you write needs to translate your conciseness in how you speak. The second was to review it. Make sure you spell check it, read over it a couple of times before you send it if you really truly want to elevate yourself and go to that next level. If you don't want to go to that next level, then type your email out and click send. But if I'm talking to those individuals that are on my channel, that are subscribed, that are watching the lives, know they are amazing leaders, that are trying to elevate. And if you're trying to elevate, take what I'm telling you and run with it, because it will automatically make you come across as the more polished, more educated, more like an executive. And this is what you want to showcase as a leader, and especially as you're developing your executive presence. You want to show that. So we talked about those two things so far. Being more concise, and then making sure you are spell checking and reading what it is that you actually are writing and think about it. The third is taking a few moments to just make sure what you're saying is correct, and then focusing in on what's the most important topic that needs to be discussed in writing. That will help you to be more concise too. I want to give you something else also that I do personally. This is something I share with my clients in a one-on-one setting, in an executive coaching setting, or in our group programs, and etc. Is that when you receive an email response back that someone sends you, let's say the person is not at your level just yet, because you're at a different level. If you're watching this live and you're watching this video, you're going to start writing in a very concise way as a leader. I know that. But let's say you receive an email from someone that is a long paragraph. I mean, the paragraph is probably about this long, or maybe even longer than that, possibly. What do you do in those scenarios when you receive this long email from someone? What do you do? Let me know in the comments below. What have you done when you've received a very long email response, long text message response, long social media response from someone? Let me know in the comments below. But I'm going to share with you what I have done. This is what I have done in the past. And so before I go into that, I see we have someone else on the chat. Oh, Frankie, hey, how you doing today? Welcome back, welcome back. Frankie said on a whole nother level. Yes, absolutely. This is another level. This is that higher level of how you communicate. If you have any questions about communicating and writing as a leader, put them in the comments below. So going back to it, this is what I do when I get those long paragraphs, and this is legitimately what I do, and this is how I showcase my executive presence and myself as a leader. Are you ready? I do not respond with the paragraph. I don't respond with a long paragraph back to this person. I will never, ever, ever do that. I will never, never do that. Because one, as an executive and as a leader, you don't have time for that. You do not have time to sit there and write and type and be typing all day long to respond to somebody's long paragraph. You are probably at that higher level. If not, time management is important. And not only is time management important, energy management is important too, because you just don't have the energy to sit there and just type all those things out. However, you don't want to ignore the person unless you purposely are ignoring them in a strategic way to deal with it at a later date and time. I talk about this a lot on my lives. There's strategic things you have to deal with. There's fires. You may need to deal with something else that's more important than that email. But I'm talking about if we're responding back to this person. I literally will respond back to a long paragraph email like that with one, maybe two sentences, at the most three. Three is if I'm really trying to explain. And typically when I have those long messages, I really do speak with them within 2 to 3 sentences. 3 is long for me. 2 is about the most I will do. 1 is usually what I try to shoot for. Now you may think that may sound a bit harsh in terms of my response. Well, it depends on what you are saying in your sentence. You may not necessarily have to go into a ton of detail. Sorry, my video went out again. I don't know what's going on with the internet today. But when I get those very, very long emails, I will acknowledge the person. Thank you so much for your message. I really appreciate it. We can schedule some time to talk about this. Let me know what will work for you. Literally, that is usually what I will send. Or if it's something that I don't have the ability to schedule a call with someone, I would say thank you for the message. If I feel like I need to agree with what they have to say, or I want to say thank you. Sometimes you don't need to. If someone's coming and writing a message to you that is maybe not friendly, then why would you say thank you? You don't want to say thank you to somebody, but use thank you as you need it. Don't use it all the time as a default, because sometimes if you say thank you and someone sends you a bit of a more contentious type of email, then you're pretty much agreeing with what they said. And I don't want you to do that if you don't really want to do that. But generally speaking, you can say thank you. Thank you for the message. I appreciate your time. We can discuss this at a later date. Or thank you for your message. I will take this into consideration. Have a great day. That's literally what I would say. And this is how you start to write like a leader. Leaders are the people that can lead the conversation. You have to be able to manage the conversation as best as you can to direct it in the right way. Even if someone talks to you and sends you a long message, you can respond back as a leader to shorten it up and to make it where you are using your time in other ways. Leaders are very good with their time. They're very good with their time. They're very good with managing their energy. And you want to manage your time and energy with these type of scenarios where you're not bantering back and forth. Because I have been in situations where I've received long messages like this, and when I've typed out those messages and typed them out and typed them out, it literally will be 30 minutes later and I'm done with the message. In 30 minutes, I could have been doing something else. I could have been putting out another fire. There's a lot of things you can do with that time. So the things that I have shared with you all, and if you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate you all for joining live today and asking me any questions and engaging with me on this topic, because a lot of people, as I mentioned at the very beginning, for those of you who have joined a bit later, this is a topic that people are not talking about on YouTube as it relates to your executive presence and leadership. You don't hear a lot about how you write, how you can write like a leader, and how you are writing might be costing your executive presence. We talked a bit about that at the beginning of the live in terms of promotions, etc. So you definitely want to check that out. We did touch on it very briefly. But for those of you, I want to share just as a brief summary what we talked about before we wrap up the live today is how you can start writing like a leader. The first thing that you need to do is to make sure you're writing in a concise way and you're not rambling. A lot of times leaders struggle with rambling, and the rambling is not only in the verbal sense, it happens in the written sense too. They just write. So be more concise in terms of what you are saying. Look over your messages at least 2 to 3 times. If it's something that is very formal you need to send that is going to directly reflect you as a leader, make sure you read over it and review it, and make sure that there's no grammatical errors, and you focus on really the most important thing that needs to be discussed, or the most important topic that needs to be discussed that you are trying to emphasize in your message. Focus on the one thing. This is the same strategy I use for my clients in an executive coaching session to help them stop rambling. We have to narrow it down and focus on what is the one most important thing. So do this same strategy when you are trying to write also. It will impact your executive presence. And then third, what I want you to try to work on is making sure that you're being mindful in terms of your responses. If you get a longer response, then make sure that you are able to adjust it as best as you can. Try my strategy I mentioned to you. My strategy was to really limit in terms of what you say and keep it short so that you can guide the conversation. So those are a couple of strategies to write like a leader. Let me know if you have any questions specifically below, and I will help you be able to write like a leader. Okay, so Frankie said, I don't want to be responsible for anyone. I'd rather work alone. So sometimes in a leadership setting, that happens. It just depends on the leaders. There's all types of leaders. There's leaders that are dealing with teams, and there's leaders that are working by themselves. So this is very true. It just depends on the person and the role and the goals that they have for their career. So if you are interested in working by yourself and not really wanting to be responsible for people, you can do that. There's plenty of roles out there for you for that specifically, and there's plenty of leaders that are the people that are working by themselves. Leadership is not necessarily only defined by the number of people you work with or how many people you work with, and etc. It is defined by the role that you have and the change that you are making to other people even if you're working by yourself, Frankie. Even if you're working by yourself, you still can be a leader at some capacity because you're leading a project, you're leading an initiative, you're leading something, you're leading a bigger aspect of the company, organization, or your business that you are trying to migrate to. All right, that was a really great comment. Appreciate that so much, because I do think sometimes when people think about leadership, they do think of it in the group type setting, but there's different levels of leadership. And I've just seen this over the past 20 years in my leadership roles that I've had, that leadership is very, very broad. There's a lot of ways you can become a leader without necessarily being in the forefront of everyone all the time. So what other questions do you all have as it relates to writing like a leader? And if you found this information to be helpful, feel free to let me know. Would be happy to have you subscribe to the channel. This is where I go through real strategies, real techniques that will help you to become an amazing leader. This is the place if you're trying to elevate yourself, especially as it relates to leadership and how you're communicating. I teach very next level, high level strategies here that are more advanced that will help you to stand out amongst your peers. Okay, so we have another comment. It's in a different language. I don't know the language, but I'd be happy to answer it. I do speak English, but I'd be happy. But I'm glad that you're here. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce your name, but if you can write it out to me in English or translate it in English, I'd be happy to answer it. And if you put it in the comments below, I will answer it for you also. But let me know if you have any other questions as it relates to this. I do want to share that I do have a couple of resources that can help you start to communicate at that higher level outside of my lives. If you have joined the channel or subscribed to the channel, spend some time on my lives. I go live fairly consistently to enough where YouTube has noticed that I go live quite a bit. And there's a lot of great information here, a lot of great content, a lot of great dialogue I have from many of you on my channel that are subscribers or just visiting, that will help you on your journey. So spend some time on my lives. There's a lot of great information here. I do have an executive strategy session that I offer to my clients that are working with me in a private setting. I work with a lot of women in leadership. I know here on my YouTube channel, I have many people that are not in that target category, and that is okay. I'm glad you all are here. I know if you're here, you're very passionate about becoming better leaders and better communicators. So I welcome you to just engage with me here on YouTube. But I have executive strategy sessions that I offer to my one-on-one clients to help them be able to really just work through things. Strategy-wise, it might be public speaking, it could be leadership, it could be just executive presence, executive communication, etc. I'm here to support you on your journey, and definitely with an executive strategy session, you will have a very clear game plan in place in terms of what you need to do next. I have the transformative leadership experience called the Real Executive Woman, which will help you to elevate how you are as a leader, whether you are at the beginning of your leadership journey, the middle, or you are at the end of your leadership journey, and perhaps you are at that C-suite level, at that senior leadership level, and you're wondering, what's next? What do I want to do? A lot of times those individuals are trying to transition into consulting roles or starting their own businesses, and so it's a whole nother world. The Real Executive Woman will help you to fine-tune those skills that you need to get to that next level in your journey. So there's a lot of ways that we can work together to get you to where you need to be. Of course, on YouTube, I can only give you guidance here in a very big setting. Sometimes you do need that custom support in terms of what's going on specifically with you, and that's what reaching out to me will do for you. So you can contact me at Dr. Jacinta Lamantai on LinkedIn and at Excite Excellence on Instagram, and I will be able to reach out to you. We'll have a conversation and come up with a plan for you from there. So if you have any additional questions, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you all so much for just being present, for watching the replay, and being present here on the live this evening. I'm looking forward to our next topic that'll be coming up tomorrow. And if you have anything in the interim, feel free to let me know. Check out the Hard Conversations video here on YouTube. It's alive. It's very, very good. And then also Think on Your Feet is alive too. It's my most watched live video, and it will help you to be able to go to that next level in your journey. I will see you all soon, and bye for now.